I'm Sheryl from China and I'm a freelancer. I see that you are here to protest. Could you introduce your main statements for this movement?
So the reason we're here is just to, we call it protest. In a way, it is a protest because we're protesting against something. But I would say this is more like a peaceful demonstration. So it's more than a demonstration. We just have slaughterhouse footage on display. We're trying to raise awareness about what happens to the animals people choose to consume. All those animals are raised for human consumption. So what we're trying to do here, we're not here to chase people and force them to go vegan. You know, we don't want their phone numbers, we don't want their email addresses, we don't want their money. We want just a little bit of their attention so they can stop, they can see what those animals go through. And we are here just to talk to them, you know, to explain what happens and give them some practical solutions, you know.
Okay, but I also see that there's a plague said that the coronavirus started because we eat animals. Do you think it's a main trigger of this pandemic or the only trigger of this pandemic?
I'm not a scientist, but according to scientists, that's what caused this virus. It was consumption of wild animals somewhere in a wet market in China. And honestly, if we overcome this pandemic, it's going to be another one and another one. We've had a lot of those pandemics before, and a lot of them actually their origin was from human animal consumption.
So you think the Chinese wild animals trades should have the main responsibility of this pandemic?
I wouldn't say that China is responsible for this, even if it originated. Even if this virus originated in China, it could have happened anywhere else in the world where wild animals are consumed, because China is not the only place. Maybe it's the biggest market of consumption of wild animals, but it's not the only one. If that didn't happen in China, it could have happened somewhere else. And then you have those like mad cow diseases, you know, and all those diseases that didn't happen in China, happened in Europe or in the States, whatever.
Yeah.
So animal consumption is responsible for a lot of damage to our health, to the planet, and obviously to the animals.
So the major purpose of this movement is not to blame the Chinese or Australian wildlife animal trades, right?
We're not pointing fingers. I think people can put the blame on themselves if they see what happens, because most people consume animals. So regardless of where we come from, you know, if we consume animals, we are responsible for the planet destruction and, you know, destroying those lives, innocent lives, you know.
Okay. So since the coronavirus pandemic in China, the Chinese government, they passed a law to restrict the wildlife animal trades in China mainland, and they also closed that market.
Yeah.
But until today, we can still buy the kangaroo meat in the coast or Woolworths in Australia. And when some people they advise the Australian government also abolish this kangaroo meat industry, they say that we should protect the occupation, the carriers for those hunters, for those workers in this industry. So the question is that once we solve this wildlife animal industries or even the commercial meat industries in Australia, who should pay the tuition fees for those workers in those fields to start a new career?
Well, it's a very broad topic, and I can elaborate. What I can tell you now is the real problem is perceiving animals as commodity. This is the root of the problem. The moment we see animals as not living beings but just products, the problem will not disappear. We're going to have this problem because someone wants to make big money of those animals. So as long as there's a market, you're going to have people providing those animals, their bodies and secretions. So Our job is to educate. We're not politicians, we are animal rights activists. We want to project the message to the people that those animals, they don't deserve to be enslaved, tortured, and killed for any reasons. We can be totally healthy without eating them. So instead of going to the governments and changing laws like, hey, ban this market, stop wet markets and transportation of wild living animals, it's not really going to change anything because it has to go from the ground, from the society. The consumers, we create demand. The consumers have the power to change the laws by changing their habits. If we change things we buy in the stores, the government will respond to it and they will change the law. So what I'm trying to say is basically, instead of banning those wet markets and all those legislations, we should really look at our plates, what we consume. This is the first place.
So you think customers should take the responsibility to change this market?
100%. Consumers hold the responsibility, 100%. It's not about governments, it's not about RSPCAs and other welfare organizations. This is our job. And I'm not talking about vegans, we all hold this responsibility to make this planet more livable for us, and for other beings.
Okay, so just forgive me to make the topic back to this.
Yeah, that's right.
You know that because of the religious reasons in India, maybe 60% of Indians are vegetarians.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the pandemic in India is still very serious and extraordinary now.
Yeah.
So do you think could you explain this phenomenon with your theory that the animal consumption that triggered the pandemic?
First of all, vegetarian diet still consists of animal consumption, because by being vegetarian you just don't consume animal flesh, but you still consume dairy and eggs, which is also problematic. And as far as Indian goes, Western style of eating is responsible for a lot of those things. It has migrated to China, to Japan, to Korea. Back in the day, Asian countries didn't have a lot of meat consumption. That has changed when the Western model style of eating has been introduced. And the same happens in India. India used to be almost 100% vegetarian. Now it's almost half. So you have a lot of meat consumption in those places. So as long as there is an animal consumption, you're going to have those problems,
So you mean it's the people who eat animals in India drag those vegetarians into this situation?
Maybe, definitely. I mean, there's definitely a higher chance to get a virus and disease if you consume animals. I'm not saying that if you consume vegetables you can't get sick, but it's not going to be virus to that same level, because obviously these days you have pesticides and chemicals. We don't eat organic food, so obviously those kind of situations can happen, but it's never to the same degree as when you eat animals.
Okay, so now you made this movement on street and show the slogan to help to encourage people to change their eating habits and to instantly to help to control the pandemic. But I don't want to be rude, but I see maybe basically all of you are not wearing a mask here. Very hesitant walk the streets. So
it's our personal choice. The masks are provided, and it's left to individuals whether they want to wear it or not. I choose to not wear the mask. I conduct safe distance when I do the outreach. So yeah.
Okay. So do you have some sentence you want to speak to Chinese audiences?
Yeah,
especially. Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
regardless where we come from, we all have hearts, we all have compassion. We have been disconnected from this, you know? From the moment we are born, we are taught to treat certain animals with respect. Other animals we treat as commodity. We wear them, we test on them, we slaughter them to eat, but it's not necessary. So my message is to listen to your heart, you know, think about it, you know, because it's not necessary.